Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Valerie Lamp. I'm representing Voters for Voiceless, which is a relatively new political action group. Right now, we are strictly located on Facebook and Instagram. Joining me today is Diane Madden, most recently former candidate for supervisor for the town of Hempstead, hopefully candidate for 2021 as well. And very, very highly regarded and well-known animal advocate. Also joining me today is Janice Blake, a former professional jockey, currently an author who is writing another book that's going to be an expose revealing animal cruelty and a behind-the-scenes look for professional horse racing, as well as a recipient of the Long Island Angels Award and the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter's Best Volunteer, or what was the title, Janice, of that award you received?
Oh, it wasn't for the animal shelter at all. It had nothing to do with that. It was for volunteering in the
At Hempstead, right?
Yeah, Hempstead, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Laura Gillen gave you a certificate
Yes.
that said Volunteer of the Year. I remember. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's who's with me. I'm just an animal advocate. So let me start with saying this. Through animal advocacy, unfortunately, a lot of times one thing leads to others, and you just keep uncovering astounding information that you weren't even looking for. That is, in fact, the case with what I stumbled on with a very recent FOIL. So the most two recent audits, one was a New York State audit in 2011, and then the more recent audit conducted by Nassau County in 2019, both went out of their way to highlight something called the Tales of Hope Fund, which is supposed to be a charitable arm so that private citizens can donate to support incidentals for the dogs and cats at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, which is not covered in their $5.5 million operational budget. So things like Kongs, leashes, collars, beds, bottles for bottle feeders, people who foster kittens, those are the types of things, Adopt Me vests for the jackets that dogs will wear. And those are the types of things that these people, such as myself, have donated to this fund for. It's taken 10 years, and the shelter, as of yesterday, still does not have a 501c to separate these monies. So I personally was very interested in seeing how they're using those funds, and that's what I foiled. The first FOIL I got back covered the first 6 months, roughly, of 2020. And I found many invoices that were for things outside of the scope of what these monies are supposed to be used for. However, probably the most disturbing one was the fact that the director of the Hempstead Animal Shelter, Mike Pastore, sent out an email stating that they were going to take 10 cats in the shelter who he's claiming are feral and shipping them off to a sanctuary, a feral cat sanctuary in Maryland. This caused me to FOIL, again, the same thing, different time frame to cover the gap. I got back another atrocious FOIL, which, by the way, the email is identical, the exact same writing from the shelter director, Mike Pastore. So why this is so important is because, again, the taxpayers are funding a $5.5 million shelter to shelter animals. Now, the most disturbing part of it all is that the cats that were sent, I have a list of the most recent ones, not feral. They were, according to the shelter, adoptable. And I want to just, before we get into it with Janice and Diane, I want to share this screen with you, who another advocate helped me pile together here. But the cats that were sent to this sanctuary are listed, have been listed on the town's social media pages, as well as the website, looking for fosters, and adopters. This is dated May 19th. This is dated March 23rd. Currently in foster, looking for an adopter, a cat named Marcus. And this is Egg Roll, March 6th, at the shelter, looking for a foster or an adopter. This is Tag Along, same story, looking for foster or adopter. So from March and April, these cats have been residing at the Hempstead Animal Shelter and being promoted for adoption. Why then? Why? All of a sudden, did they just become feral and then this team of people decided to ship them out? So I'll play those back later, but you know, guys, what's your reaction on this? I mean, I was outraged. I don't even know how else to put it.
Well, this is going on for years. First of all, let me backtrack. You are not just an advocate. You have done a remarkable job, Valerie, of not only pulling people together, but raising so much awareness and voices for voters. Voters were voiceless is going to really move elections. I believe that wholeheartedly. So thank you for that work. In any case, you know, this is a philosophy. So we can talk and go around and around all of these issues, many concerning fiscal issues, many concerning animal welfare. But the bottom line is that this happens under uncaring, incompetent leadership. And that's leadership that the current supervisor, Donald Clavin, promised to move to another department and bring in outsiders. And
yeah, he promised to fix the shelter. Right.
Right.
It seems like a popular soundbite while people are running for office because they know how controversial and ill-reputed this specific animal shelter is. The town Hempstead Animal Shelter has a long history of horrible incidents, mismanagement, and their reputation is awful. And everyone seems to just say the same thing. They're going to fix it. And then they get into office and then it's like they get amnesia. I don't really understand what happens there, but you're right.
So, you know, the way to really fix it, every single issue, is to ask for new management and ask the supervisor to keep his word during his campaign. Because regardless of what these officials do or don't do or vote in or vote out, when you have someone in management that has a good conscience, that cares about animals, that has the experience, that was trained to do this kind of work, you don't have these kinds of issues. You have someone that's going to fight to bring back the volunteers, to not ship out animals that are adoptable, to hire other and surround themselves with other experts and caring people. The problem there is the director has just gone along to get along and get his paycheck and has done whatever is recommended to him, whether it's the commissioner, whether it's the supervisor. He's just, you know, he's there to get rid of animals. That's what he's done. And this is a pattern. This is a pattern for the cats, it's a pattern for the dogs. Look what happened with the Road to Home issue, where the dogs that they sent, that many people went and approached the town board, urging them not to ship our animals out, to help our animals right there on site. We saw what happened there. They were in horrific conditions. Same for the animals to the Santino days where he shipped them to Virginia. But this was all under the same management at the animal shelter. So
it's an important point. And actually, you know, I want to just take a step back for 1 second. Janice, you know, some people might say, oh, well, you know, some people who may not be as apprised of feline care and community cats. And, you know, people may think, oh, well, that sounds great. You know, they're going to have this big, ample space, 17 acres to run around. And so what's wrong with taking cats out of a shelter and releasing them into a giant property in Maryland? Can you speak to that?
Sure. Especially if they're not feral. I mean, being feral is bad enough when you try to relocate a feral cat, because basically you're taking them out and you're putting them into somebody else's home. And the home has territories all over the place. And when you introduce another animal to a territory, there's going to be feathers flying, so to speak, and fur flying. And these cats will be outcasts. They may not be able to eat or eat much. Or by the time they do get to approach the bowl, the food may be gone. They may not get enough water. There's going to be a hierarchy reestablished once you put these new cats in there. And if you have these cats who are supposed to be adoptable, which means they were raised to be friendly, I'm not so sure how they're going to fend against feral cats who have been living tooth and nail their entire lives, and the adoptable cats have not.
Everyone I've spoken with about this says it's a recipe for disaster, and that the cats who aren't feral are going to get hurt.
You're not, I can't hear you.
They're not.
I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh, Di, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, it's all right, Janice. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, so that's a problem to begin with. If they were on the website to be adopted and then they were given to the feral cat place and said that they were feral, another question arises, which is what's the town doing with feral cats? They're supposed to TNR them, and the R means release. So if they're feral, then why are they on the website touted as being adoptable? So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered forthwith in an honest manner, not beating around the bush. Just say that, and I don't know where the FIV positive comes in, but if you're reintroducing cats into a colony that's not FIV positive, now you've got that running around more, especially if there's going to be fights in tooth and nail. So there's a whole laundry list of considerations that need to be addressed before you just show the cats the door.
Oh, I like the word consideration, especially when you think about the fact that the shelter has pretty much been closed since March because of COVID. And in the beginning, obviously, everyone was very understanding, but it's been by appointment only, to the best of my knowledge. It is still that way. So it's not as if they have been inundated with a revolving door of adopters. You know what I'm saying? And so I believe there was an opportunity to reach out to, rescues and fosters and adopters. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it makes me sick to my stomach that these were adoptable cats according to the shelter. They're pulling the money to pay for this from privately donated people, such as you and I, the cookie jar, the way you throw your $20 in. And those monies are not being used for what anyone wants them to be used for and believes that they're going to be used for. And I think it's disgraceful that they haven't managed the town Hempstead with their $500 million annual budget for the whole town. No one's managed to open up a little bank account. It's going to take.
That's criminal activity. I mean, there's no question about it. So that needs to be.
So how do we, where's Batman? Where's Catwoman? Where's Iron Man? Give me somebody. I mean, who's gonna jump?
Well, I think that you're looking at them. It's us, that's, there are no Batman. There's no man on a white horse that's going to come rescue you. So you have to do all this, so.
Well, we're not alone. I mean, if you look at yesterday's Newsday, the audit, the fiscal audit, which of course the operational audit is still being, held up in court with our money, by the way. They want and they've asked for, and yet the town has refused, including the current supervisor, as much as he is trying to skirt that off to the past supervisor. They want outsiders. They want outside independent people to come in, not only just to run the shelter, but to do an operational review or.
What's wrong with that?
I'm sorry?
What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing. It's what's needed. But the supervisor absolutely refuses to bring in outside animal care independent experts, and he refuses to allow people with that same description to come in and look at, like this, for instance, says county seeks shelter review, meaning the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Controller again asked the town to examine its animal care practices. Now, this issue with Adoptable Cats, and by the way, a volunteer who contacted me was fostering 2 young kittens. The mother was feral, and she kept the kittens, socialized them. The shelter called her, asked her to return them so they could get the kittens adopted. She found out several weeks later that these are kittens she had in her home for months and months, social, that they were sent to a sanctuary. So again, this is why the controller is asking for a review of the animal care practices and policies.
Now, by sanctuary, you mean like a large area where they're just turned out and no one ever pets them, no one ever picks them up, or they don't sleep with anybody. They're just like wild cats on a field of grass, so to speak.
Right. Well, the philosophy under this management is out the door is out the door. He looks at these animals as inventory. And unfortunately, that has trickled down to much of the staff that's left over. You have to remember, the first lawsuit in 2010 to 11, it called to bring in experts, which they did, outsiders, and there was that small period of time where the animal shelter started to improve. These programs were implemented and good things were happening for the animals. Of course, the Republican Party resurrected their bad habits, pushed and bullied these people out, and now the majority of people who are left, now sure, there's a few good people in there wearing 10 hats, doing everything they can to survive themselves, but most of those people fall under this same mentality of out the door is out the door. It seems to me—
Why did they call the 2 kittens back in from foster care if they didn't have any place to put them?
You know, they've done this to a number of foster care providers, not just for cats, but for dogs as well, where they'll call them after time. They don't want to pay for the animals. They don't want to continue to provide the food and medical.
So when they're in foster, then they provide food and they provide toys and whatever.
Right. So then they pressure because they want to keep all that money. That money is not intended for the animals. If you look at the budget, it's $5.5 million. About 4.5 goes to salaries. The others are contracted favors. So very little goes directly to the animals. So if they can get rid of these animals, so basically what I'm saying is what Don Clavin has done with his animal shelter, unlike contrary to his promise to fix it and bring in advocates and move forward, he has not only terminated and demolished the last 2 good programs, but he basically is running a $5.5 million animal shelter with hardly any animals inside.
All right, I need to, I'm sorry to jump in, guys, but I'm getting the, I've got a clock thing going on here. We have about 9 minutes left. So here's what so speaking of staff, Diane, because that's what we were just talking about, I need to switch gears because I'm not gonna just let this go by. One of the most really jaw-dropping moments during all of my time of foiling, I mean, you know, I foil things all the time because, again, one thing leads to another. But I received a copy of an internal email, and it is the following people are on it. I'm going to post it. The font is very small, though. But it's Emily Tannen, Ashley Behrens, Christy Giuliani, Mike Pistori, the director, and Jillian Schuster, who is the supervisor. The topic were these most recent 10 cats that they were shipping out. And this statement came from Jillian Schuster. She said, so there's only 10 cats left in the cattery. So those will be the 10 we send, ... That was easy, LOL. And even as I read it, I get so enraged because, first of all, this tells me 2 things, okay? Number one, they're completely desensitized, in my opinion.
Yes.
LOL about shipping off innocent animals who are going to have a very hard time adjusting and probably surviving, okay? These were cats they had listed for adoption. Number 2, this tells me that how laissez-faire are they about their jobs? I mean, even if Pistori said, find me 10 cats, we're going to dump 10 more, this should not be something that is taken lightly, or there's nothing funny. I would like to ask.
Why do they have to get rid of
like
these
to
cats in the first
Jillian
place?
Schuster, I'm talking to Jillian right now. What is funny about this? What is funny about paying a sanctuary $3,500 for 10 cats that had a chance of being in a home? What is funny about releasing friendly cats, according to you guys? What is humorous about releasing innocent animals into an environment where you probably just have their lifespan? This,
Well, that's a kill the kitty philosophy.
yes,
You
it
know,
is.
some of these employees are born and raised with, if you remember the video, Kill the Kitty, where they found it humorous, you know,
Yep.
these cats that probably should have never been euthanized either. It's a sick mentality.
And the
No
other
one
thing
would
I should
find
say,
it
I
funny
just, right, I'm sorry,
or
before I
entertaining
forget.
to be working at that animal shelter. There's
And I
nothing
should just
funny.
mention that there's no, as far as I can see, and I will foil this too, but anyone else on this who was copied on this email, where's the response to that? Like are you kidding me? If I was running a shelter, or if I was a supervisor in a shelter and I saw that, I would immediately respond and say, this is completely inappropriate. This is wrong. You're suspended, whatever. I mean, don't you want people working at an animal shelter who actually care about animals?
Well, and then it also, yes, absolutely. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. And they like it that way because they can laugh and no one will remark on it. They find this kind of stuff humorous. Because the less animals they have in there, the less they have to bother with. They could just, you know, ship them out, use other people's money to do it, and just basically keep animals on the street. There was a lawsuit filed recently in another state for the kind of conduct that has been going on at the shelter, that they are basically either shoving animals out the door or leaving them to die on the street. And I know you had your own experience with that, Valerie.
Yes, I did.
But I find that email appalling, not the least bit surprising to me, because this is the philosophy that's there, and this is apparently the philosophy that Don Clavin has allowed.
So can we do
Stems from
something
the
with
top.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
ASPCA or the Humane Society? I mean, if we can alert them, I mean, wouldn't that be
Well, what
under their?
I'm gonna invite everyone to do is whatever you think of, whoever you think of, if you want to take this video and send it to reporters, if someone out there knows someone who can help, you know, shed more attention on this issue, or knows of an appropriate action, you know, you never know who knows who. And I'm just going to keep asking people to invite people to the page, share the videos, you know, disseminate the information, because that's how I got sucked in. I mean, you know, Diane, I always say I either want to wring her neck or kiss her, but, you know, I was blissfully unaware 4 years ago, and now it's like I can't stop paying attention to it, because it's truly a grave injustice to the companion animals that we all love. I mean, it's hard. It's sickening.
And again, you know, everyone scrambles for different solutions. Are they legal? What's the next step? There are next steps, that's for sure. And I'm not going to discuss them here. But the bottom line is that animal welfare is 100% political. And it's our elected officials, everyone on that board, same people that just voted to pass a TNR contract that is 4 times the cost of the on-site program, the lies surrounding that and the misuse of money surrounding that. We have to change these seats, and that is the focus, because, you know, like you said, it's going to come down to the public taking action, and that's the strongest action that they can take.
And that's the other part of it too. I want people to, I mean, look, I'm trying to use this opportunity to educate people and get more people involved in their local government. I want people to go to meetings. They don't. I want people to go to meetings. I want people to run for office and create their own vision and platform. I mean, I think the way that Don Clavin handled the outpouring from the community was a disgrace to democracy. he not only did he not respond, but he took away their ability to be heard as their emails were not read into record. So here's, my call to action as always is send him an email. This is your Town of Hempstead supervisor, Don Clavin at tohmail.org. Post the email to the page. And quite frankly, do whatever you think of doing, as long as it's legal.
Yeah. Hold on a minute, Carrie, I'm busy.
Do it. Get on your own Zoom call, start your own petition, come to the meetings, make the phone calls, make the emails, get other people riled up and to care, because there's a lot of animal lovers out there. We are not alone. We just don't have enough of.
It's like what you said before,
aware.
is that people
Right.
are not aware.
Right.
That people are not aware. They need to be made aware.
And that's
And
our
then
job.
Once they're made aware, then they're like, oh, yeah, let's do that, but like you're just going blissfully along. You think everything's fine. You don't see any dogs running around in the street,
Right.
but there's a reason for that, so it's just
yeah.
our job to raise awareness.
So help spread awareness, everyone. I'm sorry to cut you off. We have less than a minute left, but thank you, Diane. Thank you, Janice. And let's get this out there. I think it's a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It is a big deal.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, guys. Thank you.
You too.